Well, hello, and you are very welcome to this first episode of TMT Talks with me, Oisin Lunny, brought to you and produced by the lovely people at TMT Analysis. The show aims to discuss and explore all things in mobile, from mobile gaming and gambling to mobile e-commerce and mobile payments and messaging. And we'll be speaking to some key people from the world of mobile, including getting to know just a bit about what makes them tick. What do they do? What do they like listening to? What have they been watching over lockdown, and everything in between. And it is a real pleasure to introduce our very first guest of this series, who is Dario Betti, the CEO, the big honcho over at the wonderful industry association, the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Dario, piacere, welcome to TMT Talks.
Hello, ciao everybody. Such a pleasure to be the first one. I don't know if it's a honor or you just wanted to grill the first one, very much so. But you can burn me. I'm okay. You can. Let's try.
Dario.
I'm having fun here anyway.
Dario, it had to be you. I'm so happy you said yes. This is wonderful. So this is, great. Now, the last time we met, actually, together with the folks from TMT Analysis, it was in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress 2020, or some of the satellite events around what didn't happen as 4 years from now, Mobile World Congress. And MEF had a fantastic event there. It was very much about identity, the role of mobile numbers, like big topics. It was fascinating. And, that was part of what you do for the members, is bring them together in these face-to-face meetings. But now, of course, all of the MEF events, they've shifted to virtual events. So I was very honored to be part of the MEF Connects Rich Communications event there last September. There is such a thing as Zoom fatigue. Are you finding that your members have Zoom fatigue, or do you think the virtual events are okay for now, or is everyone dying to get back to the real life events?
Everybody would love to go back to the face-to-face events, that's for sure. There is a realization for some that actually Zoom was not that bad, so you can do real business. But for some, it really was in between. There is a space of we starting to realize how to use Zoom, but not just Zoom, I should say. A lot of the time, there's a fatigue of seeing probably my face, which I can understand personally in general, but also your own face, because you feel like you're exposing yourself continuously, because before you could have meetings face to face, but also teleconference. Everything now is in presence because we're trying to overcome. And I think that's in fact, we're running events which are a bit more webinars, and webinars allow you to take notes, but not having to feel constantly on the on the go in front of people.
Ben, that's fantastic. Great to hear. But that's sort of what MEF has always been doing, is bringing together very curated people, experts in their field. The board members are experts. The folks at the, it's like if you go to a MEF meeting, you are guaranteed to meet good people and have good discussions. So that is continuing online. I'm very happy to see. But MEF aside for a moment, talk to us a bit about how you've been staying sane throughout the lockdown. When you're not on the Zoom calls or the virtual events, is there anything you've been watching or reading or listening to that's sort of just kept you nice and centered and make your life good?
I'll tell you what I like more than anything else, but I realized the non-digital things, because in a digital world, and we're talking about that, isn't it great? I have become a collector of bricks reproductions. Should I use the brand Lego reproduction of Star Wars ships, was battleships and spaceships and stuff, and it's fantastic. It's nothing digital. You have to build it bit by bit, and you lose yourself in doing it. It's good.
Also, I'm a big music lover myself. I have a little show on DAB and online, and so I was delighted to hear that you have a history as a radio DJ. Tell us a bit about DJ Dario.
Well, okay. As you can see now, I'm not in radio, even if I'm still on the board of some radios, and I'm working behind it. So probably it wasn't necessarily the most successful part of my career, but the most enjoyable for me. It was my first proper job. I worked first reading the news, even there, we found me for a pretty standard job, and I was pretty young, but I was reading the news. And then I did manage to convince them to give me a bit of a radio show, in especially the very late day when nobody would listen to the radio, and you could play the music that you wanted, and that was great. But and then, as it happens, I ended up within that having was kind of request when the show during the day, when you pick up the phone and say so and so would like to dedicate, and I used to do that.
The membership at MEF seen a big increase in the traffic and the amount of requests and messages sent. What's the kind of perspective there with people going into lockdown? Are they using their phones a lot more?
So the silver lining of the stopping the physical experience meant that the digital transformation went through the roof. So for 3 quarters, we've tracked what, in terms of revenue, to give it an idea of performance, what revenues of our members and companies in general and LinkedIn Mobile saw. And the majority saw a very strong, good or strong growth. So we're talking about more than 5% of growth quarter on quarter, just to give you an idea. Which is pretty phenomenal. You don't see that on a regular basis. The number of companies involved in mobile that have seen a large reductions, probably 11%, so very small. But things that can be much more quicker, the messaging players, the content players, they have seen their the numbers going through the roof from one moment to another. And we had TMT analysis, I should say, the digital information players of this world, by the way. As a matter of fact, we divide that, and that's it depends. They're the first or the second category, quarter in terms of growth. The first one, in the first quarter, we've seen how the amount of messages, so the messaging economy, the communication economy, all of that was really driving. In the second quarter, the personal data and identity then became the fastest growing, kind of switching, and they kind of go hand in hand. One quarter, one. Yeah.
I was reminded as you were talking there about some recent research from TMT Analysis, and they've actually seen a huge increase in the number of pings to their Velocity SMS routing service. So this shows that businesses are using SMS more to communicate. They want to verify the handsets and verify what network and handset that people are using. Does this kind of fit with your, with the MEF vision of where people are going and the rise of mobile?
It fits perfectly. Even with the thing we just mentioned, some of the things I said, I'm so amazed by, the great conductor, the one that looks at all of his data going happening and making sense of it, back to the music stories, that all of these things put together and create new values. And that's what we've seen. The second economy within digital is the economy of understanding what's happening. And that's we've seen in personal data, digital identity, everything which is not just personal data, but is enrichment and understanding of the things that are happening out there.
But there is like a flip side to this, I think, which is, people stuck at home in lockdown doing a lot of more stuff in e-commerce. That's absolutely, gone through the roof during the lockdowns. Have you seen any increase in things like fraud around e-commerce? Does that concern you at all?
We are MEF running a registry for fake usage of messages to get you to share some of his information. It's called smishing, like phishing for SMS in UK. The number of accounts attempt during COVID went through the roof. We are really talking about an increase of 69%, 70%, if I'm quoting the right number of attempts. These are not even the specific messages, is how many type of flavors they'll try to do it. You simply have to be careful if you're a user. You have to be careful if you are a business and want to protect your users, or even if you're a mobile operator and want to protect your channel. Whoever you are, you better be considering these closer. And I think you need to put some real money in investing in cybersecurity. If you are thinking of digital transformation, the other side of digital transformation is digital security.
I mean, do you think you're familiar with the TMT analysis products? There's one called Verify. Do you think that can alert a customer to a SIM swap danger? Is this like a product that you think can help business as well?
Users have realized that they have themselves to take ownership of a problem, because people are
Yeah.
not necessarily looking after them and their interests as much as they should. But they also know that somebody else needs to do something, and we're seeing more and more that to choose a relationship with somebody is somebody that can provide you much more in their brand, security and trust. So a lot of discussions over the last few years on personal data identity was about, oh, there's a silent minority or a silent majority that simply is not happy the way information and security is happening. But they will just do whatever we want because that's the great thing about the digital economy. Turns out that is not true, and we're starting to see it now.
You've just described the reputational damage that can happen to a company very, very quickly if consumers feel that they're not safe anymore. So, personally, I think solutions like Verify are just worth their weight in gold, because you really have to build up your defenses now if you want to play in this mobile first world. Now, in fact, TMT Analysis have also just published a white paper on what fintechs in particular can do to protect themselves from mobile fraud. And this can be downloaded from the TMT Analysis website. So the details are also now on screen for those watching this, and we will include a note in the podcast notes. So there was something really interesting you just kind of reminded me of there, Dario. There's some statistics came over that said recently that mobile payment fraud has been growing faster in the mobile ecosystem than anywhere else. Windows remains the most popular operating systems used by fraudsters at 38%, and the combined figures for iOS and Android are now 51% of all online fraudulent activity. And apparently the growth is probably even greater, since little more than half of merchants track fraud from their mobile channels. So that's some food for thought there, and I'm sure we will continue this conversation another time at MEF Connects, on TMT Talks, or somewhere else. Now, I do have a last question for you, Dario, which, given your background as a DJ and a man of the world, I'd be curious to know, what is one piece of music you're listening to now that we can add to our fabulous TMT Talks playlist that we're going to update at every episode? It's all, so as long as the track's on Spotify, we're going to add it to our playlist. What's rocking your world right now, Dario?
Oh, well, I managed to get some Miles Davis playing in the background recently,
Oh
and
yeah.
there is Miles Davis is great, I think, in genius. But you sure you want to trust me to tell you what to do? Because I don't know, you're taking a risk, Oisin. I mean, see, great work.
I
I mean,
trust
can't go
you,
wrong. Miles
Dario.
Davis,
I trust you completely.
Porgy and Bess, I think, Greg Gershwin in a jazz version. Go
Yeah.
there. Miles Davis, fantastic. But you can equally pick anything on Miles Davis, and I'll be happy for a while. But
That's a deal. Excellent. Thank you so much. Wow. So that's Miles Davis going straight in with a bullet to the TMT Talks playlist on Spotify. We will share the link for TMT Talks on Spotify on our show notes for the podcast and in the page on YouTube. And we hope you enjoy. Let us know what you think. So that's it for our very first TMT Talks with me, Oisin Lunny. Many thanks to Dario Betti from the wonderful Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Grazie mille. And thank you for listening and for watching. Don't forget, you can carry on the discussions via the hashtag TMT Talks, or you can email me at Oisin, old Irish name, I better spell that for you. It's OISIN at tmtanalysis.com, or post a comment on the TMT Analysis YouTube channel. You can, remember, download TMT Analysis's white paper on fintech fraud by visiting their website at tmtanalysis.com. And you can carry on the party via the special TMT Analysis mixtape on Spotify, which I mentioned is called TMT Tracks. We're going to link it in the show notes. Miles Davis has just been added there by Dario. Thank you. Be sure to tune in. My name's Oisin Lunny. This is TMT Talks, and we'll see you next time.